There is a lot to get through on today's video, guys. We've got a right back that is being targeted. Could this spell the end for James Tavernier at Rangers? We've got a tribute that is being delivered by the club to Sir Walter Smith. Should be Sir Walter, shouldn't it? Definitely should be. Greatest ever, absolutely. And we're going to talk about Fabio Silva and the fact that it's probably goodbye to Fabio, which I know will be of relief to a lot of you Rangers fans out there. Guys, let's start off by talking about Fabio Silva. Now, Fabio Silva, when he arrived with a great heralded fanfare that he'd obviously chosen Rangers over that lot from across the city. He arrived, on the back of the fact that he was a £35 million player. He'd had some success on his loan spell with PSV, and there were certainly high hopes that he could come to Scotland and really shake things up for Rangers. Well, he has absolutely flattered to deceive, hasn't he, during his time at Rangers? Now, a lot of that has been down to his conduct. Obviously, the diving and the reputation now goes with that, his overreactions, his histrionics at times. I think initially a lot of us found it entertaining. Now, a lot of us just found it very irritating. I think a few of us, when he was obviously chucking himself around and falling on the floor and banging the floor, were just like, for God's sake, get up. No one's impressed. And I think there's a lot of Rangers fans now that genuinely just think that we should end his loan spell and send him back to Wolves now before the end of the season. However, due to injuries, I genuinely do not think that is possible. Obviously, with Oscar Cortez out, with Abdallah Seema out, our options in wide areas and up front with obviously Danilo missing and the unreliability of Kamar Roof. We genuinely don't have many options up there. And Fabio Silva's kind of become an option because he's here. Now, look, I'm not defending Fabio Silva. I'm not sticking up for Fabio Silva. I, like a lot of Rangers fans, are not very impressed with the way he conducts himself on the field. The diving, obviously, is not something that as a football fan I want to see. But I think some of the lack of quality we've seen from Fabio Silva is down to the fact that he perhaps has not been used in his best position consistently. I don't think he's an out-and-out nine. I don't think he is a winger by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he has the work ethic to be a good winger. Yes, he worked hard against Benfica, but I think there was ulterior motives to that, being a former FC Porto man. I mean, his stats from this season, he's played 29 appearances across all competitions, scored 4 goals, no assists at all, and played 1,463 minutes for the famous. I think the beating he gets with a £35 million price tag is extremely unfair. He didn't demand a £35 million price tag. It's not his fault that Wolves were stupid enough to pay £35 million. It's not his fault that Porto demanded £35 million. It's not, I don't think that, I think, to keep going on about, he's a £35 million, I think that's very unfair on Fabio Silva. Like I said, I think in modern football, prices are irrevocably inflated because of the fact that English Premier League clubs are perceived as having a lot of money. But I think to some degree, he perhaps hasn't been used in the right way. I would have seen him as kind of like a Bobby Firmino type. Those of you remember that Liverpool system where there was no real out-and-out nine. It was very mobile, kind of sort of false nine, but not a false nine kind of thing. Kind of like a 9.5, I guess. Someone who was kind of 2 10s and 1 10 played further forward than the other. I think, that's how Silva's used for Portugal's under 21s, and he has been quite effective there. Certainly in the last international break, he scored a number of goals. So I think some of it is down to that. I think some of it is also down to the fact that he underestimated Scotland. I think he thought they could just come up here and waltz it because obviously Scotland has this perception of being a weaker league. I think he's perhaps struggled with the pressure of playing for a club as huge as Rangers. No disrespect to Wolves. They are a big club, but they are nowhere near in the same league as Rangers in terms of size and reputation and obviously status. And I think also as well, I think, he's perhaps struggled with the physicality of the game up here. He's not used to the hammer throwers, the kicking that you get up in this neck of the woods. You have to be a very physical, strong player to come through that. So I do think there is an element of that in Fabio's failure up here. Now, Rangers have said that it looks like the sources inside the club are saying that at the end of his loan spell, he will be returned to Wolves. There will be no proposal for a further loan, or certainly no proposal to try and buy him, which I think when that was talked about was exceptionally unrealistic, given the fact that it was always said that Wolves wanted somewhere close to the £35 million back for him. I think he has no future at Wolves by the sounds of things, listening to what Gary O'Neill was saying. I think Gary O'Neill will send him out on loan, or at least try and sell him for somewhere close to that 35 million or next season. I think that the big hope really is to send him on loan. Hope that he impresses somewhere and then they can recoup a little bit more of the money. Obviously, that will not be at Rangers anyway. Okay, guys, let me know what you think. Tell me what you think. Right, let's deal with the... Well, we're going to go, obviously, hang on. We're going to obviously talk about the late, great Sir Walter Smith. We're going to talk about a right back who has been linked with a move to the club. This man is called Ben Johnson. No, not the disgraced Canadian sprinter who obviously won that gold medal by being high on dope or whatever he was high on or whatever he'd taken. No, not that Ben Johnson. This Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson of West Ham United of the English Premier League. Now, I know what you're suddenly all thinking. You're all thinking, well, that's a bit of a load of roll rubbish, isn't it? English Premier League, you're talking big bucks. You're talking massive money there to transfer anybody from a team in the top half of the English Premier League. Well, no. Actually, Ben Johnson would cost Rangers a grand total of £0, 0 shillings and 0 pence. Well, in terms of a transfer fee anyway, he would cost them a signing on fee and wages. He is out of contract at the end of this present season. And West Ham United are resigned to losing Johnson. They have offered Johnson a number of new contracts, but he has rejected every last one of them. Rumour is that he is looking for first-team football, which of course raises a very interesting question, which we will get to in a minute. Tav is a right back. Johnson wants first-team football. Rangers are negotiating with him. That is confirmed by Rangers Review and Daily Record and Football Scotland. 3 sources, independent of each other, all confirming the same story. Now, Ben Johnson is someone who has a very thick footballing heritage. He is the cousin related to former Spurs and England defender Ledley King, who back in the day was an excellent defender. He is also related to former England and Manchester United and QPR defender Paul Parker, who played obviously with England in Italia 90, getting all the way to the 3rd, 4th place playoff. Obviously, you might remember the ball going in off Parker's arse for one of the Germany goals. So look, Paul Parker, Ledley King, good family heritage, good family tradition there. Now, what do we know about Ben Johnson? He is a good quality player. West Ham want to keep hold of him. West Ham have played him a number of times in the Europa League this season, the Europa Conference League, and the Europa League as well. He is, a very talented player, someone who's very highly thought of. Now, according to reports in the English media, Crystal Palace, Leeds United are those clubs who are reportedly taking an interest in Johnson. But Johnson apparently is in search of first-team football, is in search of a new challenge. And I think obviously with Rangers being able to offer European football, contention for trophies and maybe first-team football, we'll get to it in a minute. Could this be an option? Well, let's have a look at some of his stats. These are Ben Johnson's stats. He's 24 years old, so he's still a young player. He's a player, again, who if we can make a success of him, he has a bit more experience than perhaps a 20-year-old or 21-year-old. But if he's someone who you can make an success 2-3 years down the line, you can flip him for a big amount of money, making a profit on him, considering you paid nothing for him. What do we know about good old Ben Johnson? So he's 24 years old. He's born in London. He is obviously been with West Ham all of his footballing life. He's never ever been anywhere else. So all his experience is at the team from the capital. He is a player who can play right back, can play left back, but is more seen as a right back than a left back. And if you consider the situation where we took Dujon Sterling, another young player from the English Premier League, then is this perhaps a sign of someone else is good quality here? In terms of Johnson, like I said, he's 24 years old. He's from London, Waltham Forest. He's 1.84 meters tall, which is just over 6 foot. He is a right back. He's a big, tall, strong guy. But he is, like I said, out of contract on the 30th of June, 2024. So you would only have to pay a signing on fee and his wages for him. Now, in terms of his appearances this season, he's made 14 appearances in the Premier League, totaling 539 minutes, 4 appearances in the Europa League, 2 appearances in the FA Cup, 2 appearances in the EFL Cup with an assist, 1 appearance in Premier League 2, and 2 appearances in the EFL Trophy. West Ham and a lot of the Premier League clubs do field youth teams in the EFL Trophy. So altogether this season, 25 appearances and 1 goal for, 1 assist for West Ham from right back. In terms of his career, like I said, he has been with West Ham his entire career, making 109 appearances for them, scoring 2 goals with 2 assists, making 54 appearances for their under-21s and 25 appearances for their under-18. So he's come through the West Ham system. West Ham obviously well noted for producing footballers who play the game the right way, on the ground, forward attacking, good forward motion, very, very aggressive players. So that is all good news indeed. Now, of course, the question is this. Now, if his main demand around his move to any club is guaranteed first team football, which obviously I think, he will obviously take in terms of the fact that no manager can guarantee him first team football all the time. It is based on your form. If you go out there and you play absolutely shit 9 times out of 10, unless your name is, I'm not going to go any further, you will get dropped. So the question will be, what does this mean then? If this is the case, if Rangers really are negotiating for Johnson, is this the end for Tav? Tav is the right back. After all, he's been the right back for time immemorial. He's the club captain. He said the other day that he's not going anywhere. He's got 2 years left on his deal. So what's the plan? Is it really that this guy is going to come, take Tav's place, or Tav's gone? Sterling also is a right back. Does Philippe Clement now see Sterling as perhaps not a right back, more a winger or central midfield player, which I certainly think central midfield is his best position given how he plays there. And certainly I think, like I said on the podcast last night, I would love to see a midfield pivot too of Sterling and Dio. I think that would be absolutely outstanding. I think those two would absolutely dominate the midfields of every single Scottish team in the SPL. So, look, this is obviously a story that is going to run for now. And we now know between now, the end of the season, and over the summer, we are going to be linked with every man, dog, hamster, chicken, rabbit, and guinea pig that are around. And every name will be linked with us, knowing that the media know that we need to retool, we need to rebuild. I certainly think that if Johnson is a realistic signing that has been talked about, like I said, by Rangers Review and a number of other sources, then it would be a great signing for the club. He looks a very good player. He looks the sort of player who will come in and improve the squad. He's not a championship player, so you don't want any more of them. He'd be someone, I think, and if he comes in and is as successful as Dujon Sterling, would certainly be someone you'd want to see at our club. But it does, of course, beg an interesting question. What does this mean for James Tavernier? Right, guys, again, let me know what you think. Okay, so let's talk Sir Walter. Yes, greatest ever. Yes, a man who just absolutely knew Rangers inside out. A man who ran this club just amazingly. A man who is still missed today. A man who I still miss today. Hero, absolutely. Leader, absolutely. Legend, just unbelievable human being. Unbelievable manager. 2 spells with the club between 91, 98, 07 and 11 as manager. Obviously, no assistant manager as well to Graham Souness. 626 games, 404 wins, 121 draws, 101 losses, 64.5% win ratio over those 2 spells. Absolutely phenomenal. 10 titles, 5 Scottish FA Cups, 6 League Cups, 1 UEFA Cup runners-up, obviously, with that unfortunate game against Zenit St. Petersburg in Manchester, which I still have not rewatched. And obviously then the world ended on the 28th of October 2021 when he passed away. So sadly, obviously hugely missed by the Rangers family. Now, why are we talking about Walter Smith? Well, it's been revealed that the club have put in planning permission to erect a statue to Sir Walter outside of Ibrox. And I think a lot of us say not before time. If ever a man deserved a statue, if ever a man deserved a tribute, if ever a man deserved to be shown the appreciation for his achievements and for what he meant to the fans and to this club, it is Walter Smith. He is just unbelievable. Was unbelievable, obviously, sadly, obviously no longer with us. Look, I'm just chuffed to bits that he is getting this statue, that he is getting, you know, what he deserves. Obviously, as long as planning permission goes through, and I can't see that being a problem. It will immortalize his legend. It will immortalize him for time immemorial. You know, this is a guy who, you know, in 97 led us to our, you know, 9th title in a row. He's just different class. Just unbelievable. A decision on planning permission is expected on June the 14th, which is the day that Scotland kick off Euro 2024 against Germany. Hopefully it will be positive news. Then work will begin on erecting his statue outside of Ibrox. Apparently it will be built on land between the corner of the Copeland Road stand and New Edmiston House. That is where the statue will be. Ibrox. Obviously, we've got the John Gregg's the Ibrox Memorial one. We've got you know, we've got all those fantastic tributes, but this one, you know, is just unbelievable. You know, he'll be remembered in the same way now that as our, you know, one of our other most successful bosses, Struth. He's just unbelievable, Walter Smith. Yeah, fantastic. The club are honouring him. Fantastic. The club are giving him his statue that he 100% fully deserves. Guys, again, let me know what you think in the comments of Sir Walter's statue. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. As always, on the way out, there's two things I ask of you. Number one, smash that like. It helps. And number two, remember always, especially for that man in the picture there, we are the people.